that's not it. What one? Oh wait, I know what that is. Hey.
It's also telling me that I'm going to die in 7 days. Is that normal?
Yeah, no, that's normal. That's the predictive. That's, you know how you get like predictive text. It's kind of like that, but like, it's the way Google tells you your future. So, hi chat. Sorry for that longer break. I have fixed the problem, and now everyone sees the same results because the number is coming from. It's the everything's being rolled in the same place, which is good.
Nice.
Cool.
It's worth noting that Ash is not only running and producing this game, but also programming Roll20 in the background,
coding on the fly.
If you ever think that you've got a heavy load when you're running a game, just consider all the things Ash is doing right now.
Also, if you're ever looking at anyone to code your Roll20 character sheet, it seems like a pretty good testament of someone's coding ability to me. Just put it out.
I mean, the thing is that like I am specifically skilled. My work history means that I'm specifically skilled in like hacky janky things and making things do stuff they're not supposed to do. So Roll20 shouldn't technically be able to get the information for the Fates roll from an external server for the Twitch integration. But I'm evil, and Roll20 groans under my command. So that's fine.
Under your spell, as it were.
Exactly. Now, I think we were up to. I want to know: is there anything that we want to see for the rest of the evening from the soup kitchen?
So, the thing we were up to is I was going to get a momentum point.
Yes, you were.
That's what was about to happen, because here's what I'm going to say is the thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think because Risa just like abandons this like kid and like doesn't make an effort to get him any medical attention, and like all of he and his friends are like drunk and like fairly incapacitated. By the time he is able to get his hand to someone who has medical skills, like it's not the hand is not going to be savable, and so it's going to have to come off. I mean, to save his life.
Everyone keeps calling these consequences,
which makes him a non-citizen now. So Andros is now a vengeful denizen.
Yep, and like,
which incidentally is my new metal band name.
Family, right? Like he will have a lot of important people that are associated with him. So yeah, flip a token for that, definitely.
Can I flip two tokens?
People keep saying that these things are consequences, but Raisa is not seeing this as a consequence.
She's just
as a bonus.
Can I flip two coins? One for Andros and one for Andros's family?
No.
Okay. I got to try.
I know. Yeah.
You're really messing things up here, Luke. You're really making a scene. Thanks.
Look, you taught me how to make Doc Boggins, Andrew. You wrote a game that trained me in this skill very specifically.
It was so hard trying to work out how like Doc Boggins could come into this game without being associated with like actual roles. It was really like, okay, so if that's what you wanted to focus on, Luke, then I think we might. Andros, what does your home look like? Not Andros.
You mean Pyros?
Pyros.
It's a tiny, like, slummy tenement apartment.
You said it was on the third story. Is there like some sort of commercial retail or something like that store on the first floor that smells not so great?
Yeah, like above the butchers.
Or a tannery.
Oh god, tannery would be really bad.
Yeah.
That seems good. Yeah.
Well, like I don't feel like we're in a place where they would be processing woad, but like that would be the worst.
But yeah, tanneries are really toxic and smelly.
Yeah. They don't require quite as much urine as woad does, though. So like
just like Pyrrha.
Oh my god. So yeah, I think Raisa, I don't think you've yet, like, I think you still retch a little as you, like, go past the lower floors of the tannery, and, like, the stairs are slightly, like, slick with some kind of liquid. You've, like, you know to wear sandals because if you step in whatever the puddles are around here, it feels, your feet feel a little bit tingly, and you're like, that's not a good thing.
Some mixture of lie and animal brains.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you make your way up, and like, yeah, I assume, like, knock on the door. What, Pyros, did you make your way home already? Are you actually home?
Yeah, I mean, Riza's late, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But I feel like
the time
you were also at least a little bit late because you had to clean up the blood.
Yeah, and so Pyros is home, but I think he has, like, fallen asleep, and the door is, like, slightly open to his apartment, and he's, like, in it, and it's almost like a cell, like, it's very small, and there's a little cot, and a little tiny, like, desk, and a chair, and that's it.
Yeah, if it's a flop house, are like a lot of the resources shared, whereby like he has a little space, it's his bed,
Yeah,
like
there's
the washroom and everything like that is
At the end of the hall, or, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so it also makes sense that if you can get into the basic building, probably none of the doors to any of the rooms
Yeah.
are particularly well.
Yeah, like, he wouldn't have, like, a big lock on his door or anything. But also, as it happens, his door is, like, slightly open because he was just too tired when he came in. He just kind of got into his chair and then is, like, passed out in it, like, mouth hanging open.
Yeah, I think.
Crutches falling on the ground next to him.
Yeah, I think Raisa, like, pushes open the door with their back, and like, knocks on the food containers, knocks on the tiffins, and it's like, "Hey, old man."
Yeah, and he does the, like,
I don't know if Pyros is old.
deep inhalation wake up. He's, like, in his 50s or something, I think we described.
I was gonna say, is this gonna be another, like, Agatha problem where everyone starts calling her old woman, but she's not old?
No, Pyros is actually, like, pretty old. And he, like, wakes up and, like, clutches at his, like, stump of his leg as if it's, like, paining him, and, like, shakes his head, and then, like, slowly pieces together, like, what's going on and where he is, and he says, "Oh, it's you." And he, like, tilts his chin up. "Well, you're late." And, like,
Yeah,
reaches
I
out
was,
for the-
I was a bit held up. And I just hand it to you.
Yeah, and he, like, plops
Might
it
not be
down.
quite hot anymore.
And I think he has some term of endearment for you that's, like, a foreign word for people of your gender. Like jackalope or something. That, like, I don't know, it's like a weird, it's not like an actual gender word, it's like a...
Yes, the
descriptor.
classic gender descriptor, jackal.
You know, like, it's a translation. But anyways, it's this term of endearment where he just, like, calls you a jackalope when he's not using your name. Because he wants to be respectful but isn't very good at it. And he just says, "Okay, young jackalope," and, like, puts it down. And it's on the desk where he puts it, there's this, like, half-finished figurine made of stone. Like, it's, like, disturbed and, like, almost falls off the desk, and he has to, like, catch it, and he looks really, like, alarmed for a moment. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, pops the lid off with his one hand. He has, like, a little technique for doing it. And
I would like to. I would like, if Andrew consents to this, I would like to flip a momentum token like you fall out of bed. Like, you lunge to grab it, you've only got one arm, so you can't balance yourself.
I
And
fall off my chair. I only have one leg and one arm. It's a hard...
right? Like, you fall and you land on the floor, and it's really awkward and bad.
Yeah, okay, totally. He just, like, he catches it, but in doing so, like, falls out of his chair and just, like, hits the ground hard.
Like, I often fall out of my chair catching things, and I have 2 legs and 2 hands.
So yeah, he ends up like on the ground. I mean, he had just woken up too, and he's just like curses. And
I want to introduce scarcity to this, just making things worse. I assume that there are like a fixed number of these dinners to go out, right? Like there's not like a surplus. There's like enough for all of your deliveries. Does that sound right, Peters? I think the tiffin should spill over as well in this process. If that's like too like, oh my god, comedy of errors, feel free to reject it. But the reason why I'm saying it is that if Pyrrhos's tiffin of food is wasted, and then Risa has to make the choice of like to give you another one or not, then there's an actual like loss that can be equated to that, or somebody else is going to lose out because of it. So but if you feel like that's too ridiculous, then feel free.
I'm all for this because there's another thing too, which is that if they hadn't been so like roughshod with Pyrrhos about this whole thing, this probably wouldn't have happened. If they had just been like, "Hey, here's your soup," like person who is not like, you know, who only has one arm and like isn't perfectly set up to like receive this thing. If you just been a little more patient, maybe it'll happen. So yeah, there's this whole fucking calamity that goes down, and Pyrrhos is like on the ground covered in soup, like. Cursing and like
you flip
fist to the ground to get up.
Flip a momentum, Sean.
All right,
and I think Risa, like seeing this, they're like very like flippant around you usually, but immediately goes into like servant mode, and like scrambles down and like definitely like puts all of the containers back together and like locks it. And like dusts you off a bit, and is just completely out of character.
Yeah, and Pyrrhos like looks at you and says, plenty helpful now. Spilled my dinner, and like he's back in his chair and like eases back into it and groans a little, like rubs his ribs where he fell.
Yeah, I think like picking up yours, I like grab another and set it next to you, and like sometimes they go missing.
And he like takes the now empty one and like puts the lid back on it and hands it to you. This is, well, thanks, I guess. And like looks at you for a minute. So what were you doing anyways? When I didn't recognize you back at the place where you definitely weren't.
I was... nothing.
And that's what I mean. Wasn't doing anything. It's not going to accomplish anything. Just wasting my time. Precious little of it as I have. And he's like got his spoon out and is like shoveling soup into his face,
waving the spoon like a
and then like indicating with the spoon. Yeah.
Why would you clean it up anyways? It's not like you owe them anything.
Well, if I don't do that work, I don't have this. And he like indicates his shitty flophouse apartment or anything else to keep me afloat. So we soldier on, and he like takes another couple bites of soup.
You'd have food. I'm sure you could find some place to sleep.
And just like shakes his head. What I was getting to is dignity. Dignity is the other thing I have, or well, and like looks around and just like
yeah, I'm just sitting real dignified here, I guess.
People didn't come in and knock me over in my soup and just like eating. Don't you have other people to deliver to?
Oh, you're pretty close to the last.
And I think there's a pattern too where he like is constantly trying to get you to leave, but like really doesn't want you to leave. It's one of those. So he's like constantly berating you. Like, well, what's a feisty jackalope like you gonna do with the rest of the night? Once you're done lifting and elevating the unfortunate like myself.
Well, I always do my best to stay out of trouble.
and he's like caught a whiff of something, I think. Now that you've been standing in the room for a minute, and he's just like, is there pork in this soup? And he like piles around it with his spoon, and then he's like, no, it's definitely something else. And he's giving you this look, like, what did you do?
Some young man got a bit too close for my liking.
And he nods, like, yeah, that makes sense. Well, hope you got to him first. The soup. Looks like you're all right.
Not too worse off.
And he's like, well. And he picks up one of his figurines and like holds it out to you. What do you think of this one? And, like, puts it in your hands.
Yeah. What is it of?
It's like a man, like, you know, clearly a soldier, not like a general or like a fancy soldier. It's like a very baseline depiction. And he's like, he's holding like, what would it be? It's some kind of like plant or something that is in, you know, like symbolic of one of the other kingdoms or whatever that the Republic conquered or made peace with.
Say a sheaf of wheat, like a bundle of wheat.
Yeah. So he's like holding that, and like looks very mournful, and like has his spear like point down, and he's like looking at the ground kind of contemplatively. And he's like, yeah, he holds it out to you, and he just says,
Yeah.
Well, what about this one? And I think he's been showing you all these things, trying to get you to like, he wants you to like one of his sculptures, but they're just always, thus far, have been too, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he's like always fishing for an opinion.
Yeah, and I think Race is like, your work is always beautiful, but it's stuck in the past.
Wow.
Well, what else can I
Roll to strike.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, what else can I make? I've only seen the past. And he kind of like nods to himself. Past is what I know. Most of what I have, if I'm being honest.
Think of something better.
What does that even mean? Jackalopes. Just like finishes his soup and like hands the empty thing back to you. Just give it here, and like collects his little figurine and plops it on the desk.
I feel like there's got to be like the sounds of ambient noises outside of like people laughing and like going on with their lives, and like other people clearly in this place have better lives than Pyros, right? Like he doesn't. His world is tiny, but like it's not that everybody in the Republic, its citizens, do not suffer in the way that Pyros does.
Yeah.
No, and even other people who are having a hard life don't suffer in the way that he is. Like, yeah, other people are finding ways to be happy. That
they don't cling to their suffering like Pyros does.
Perhaps the universal sign of people having a good time is like two kids run down the hall chasing each other, like behind.
Yeah, there's a little like down the hall.
Yeah, and I was gonna say there's definitely like someone strumming some instrument, and like
balalaika.
Not sure if that is the
I don't know if that's period appropriate, Luke.
Instrument.
A stringed instrument.
Like
someone is playing the Macedonian bagpipes.
My immediate thought was like, oh, someone's playing the banjo, but I was like, wait a second.
No, but it's like a small harp or something, like a 4-string harp or whatever. Yeah, and like we were talking about, how he only sculpts the past. What else? Like something better, and he just like shrugs. I'm content with what I have, and why shouldn't I be? You know, he kind of like challenges you to be like, yeah, tell me how my life's shit. I dare you.
Look around. That man earlier today, he could have cleaned that much faster than you. Or better yet, why clean it?
It's a nice statue, he says, like, going back to his work. Yeah, never mind the parts that, it's not so bad of a statue. I think he, like, names the artist, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Epiphanies, 20 years ago. Man, it was early work, but commendable, and he's, like, back to one-handedly, like he just earthbends these sculptures of his. And so he's just like holding the stone and kind of like looking at it, and it's like shifting a little bit.
I'd imagine like scratching it with your thumb.
Yeah, like pushing with his fingers, and it moves like clay, but then just is stone.
Yeah.
I have a question because I'm curious about it. Is there somewhere not finished yet a sculpture of Risa that is like currently in progress?
Oh yeah, I think like.
Or is it all like much more like distinctly just like purely from the past?
I think there's I think he's working on one of them. I think that's his like unfinished one.
But they don't. But they don't know about it.
Yeah, while Rice is in here, he's like surreptitiously like getting some of the details right. Like,
what's the end of that nose look like again?
Yeah, what are their legs shaped like? And so he's like out of the corner of his eye, like scoping what your foot looks like, and then making some adjustments to this thing.
I didn't think there's opposition there, so I don't think we need to roll anything. But yeah, do we just like kind of like fade out on this like nattering? Because they just kind of. He has like bickering with you like an old married couple vibes, where he like really wants your company but doesn't have tools to be nice to people. So he just aims for being kind of like weirdly entertaining and trying to get you to like laugh at him at least, while then also like making this very like, I think the thing we see is as you leave the room, he like puts down this sculpture that he's making, and it's like definitely nicer and more carefully made than all the other ones, because he's actually able to take reference for one, but also he's been working on it. It's his latest thing. And yeah, it's just like a statue of Risa that's like half finished.
At this point, I'm really curious, Andrew, just because like it seems like a relevant question. Has Piros ever met either Shadi or Carrix?
I have a bond with Carrix that you're helping me recover and rehabilitate.
Yes.
So we've definitely met. And I think I know that I fought in the campaign that was in Shadi's country, so we might have met like way back.
So you might have had a negative encounter at one point.
Yeah,
And then
I was going to say,
there might be some stuff. Yeah.
Shadi, I believe, was married to one of your, either your commander or one of the Fear Fellow officers.
Yeah.
Right, because you served in the old Imperium.
Yeah, just as in the new. Yeah.
Right, to which, you were a soldier in the old Imperium, right? Like you were a citizen back then, or whatever they called it, right? And Shadi was taken by one of them. So yeah, I had envisioned, I think we talked about it, we'd have to go back to the VOD, but that we had some connection. It's old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was momentarily concerned. I was like, "Oh my god, is Piros woven into the camp? Do we need to like work to bring Piros more?" And I was like, "Yeah,
no."
But now, no, I feel better now.
Yeah,
it's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm leaving myself in. I have this friendly relationship with this weird queer person who brings me soup.
I'm
making a statue of them.
It's important to check these things. That as a group,
we're getting there.
We can work together.
I would be satisfied with my life being a weird queer soup person.
If I ever open a soup restaurant, I will hit you the fuck up.
Sounds good.
You've had my soup, Ash. I could do it.
I mean, yes. Sorry, my brain went to like weird queer soup person in like I'm a soup person made of soup.
You're some kind of soup elemental.
Yeah.
Look, you don't know me.
That's what a jackalope is. No.
Right.
So I think I would like to see the seasons turn. I think it's a few weeks. I think we cut forward to like a few weeks later.
I'd like to see some of our institutions come into direct play.
Yeah,
we definitely
exactly.
saw the peacemakers. I'd love to see some of the others like take.
I'd love to
some
see
direct
Shoddy. I'd love to see Shoddy at the Citizens Forum.
Yeah, right. So
I would also like that.
I want to jump in first with I think Parza lives in like the same like block of flats as Pyros. And I think we probably Pyros, I think you're at home alone. So like we fade out and then we fade back up and it's like weeks later or whatever, or days later or something.
Oh yeah, and the statue of Risa is done.
Yeah.
It's like that's the connecting bit. We see that change.
Yeah. And then I think you hear from like down the hall like someone like banging on a door, like really like hammering it and being like Miss, we're here to is there an older word for vaccination? Not really. Inoculate. We're here for your children's inoculations. Are you, Miss? Miss, can you please open the door? And you hear like scrambling and things.
Yeah. So Pyros like hobbles out into the hallway on his crutch.
Yeah, and
looks down the hall.
You know that like that the door there is like a mother with, it is like a single mum with several kids.
Yeah, what was the name again for her?
Parsa.
Parsa, that's right.
Yeah, Parsa. They're like, and there is a woman in like all white like big toga that also includes like a veil that covers all but her eyes. So like I need to make sure I get my words right. Sorry.
So is it like a niqab, which is the one with
that was the word I was looking for, was
the
niqab.
face bit? It's like a hijab with the okay, cool.
So it's basically like all white niqab, and she's got like a basket with herbs and maybe some like little clay bottles and things like that, and a very like stylized, ritualized like small knife, like a really like it would obviously be very sharp. And then she's got with her like probably. Do we assume that the peacemakers also act as like a police force here?
That was kind of the baseline, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So. In which case, there's a peacemaker with her, and is like, and he's the one like knocking on the door, and is like.
It's a very particular statement, though, to say that your military force is the same thing as your police force.
Yeah,
like,
right.
We are very resistant to that idea because military force is intended to conquer and defeat and protect with arms, and like police force have different intentions. At least their publicly stated goals are very different, right?
But
so I think it's a real concrete decision to decide that, and I just want to know what that's.
How about this? I'm gonna make it fucked up, so we can flip a momentum over. There is a police force in the Republic. It serves the citizens.
Right. Yeah. Right.
The work of policing among denizens and non-citizens is done by the peacemakers because they are also seen as like enemies of the state.
Yeah. Flip a token. That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awful. And
Thank you.
true to regular real world
like,
civilization.
The concept of policing is so new and is so like modern anyway. Like whereas previously it was just who are the people with swords to make sure that nothing goes wrong. It's like the traditional kind of setup. So yeah, this guy's. But I like the idea of like there being quote-unquote police force, which has a different role specifically for citizens.
So it sounds to me more like there's the guard, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
that
like,
thing that peacemakers act as guards. Yeah.
yeah.
But the point is that they don't do things like investigation and things like that. But yeah, there's this. So yeah, I think he's wearing like in city arms. So like loose.
Yeah, there's like a
loose
different
leather
uniform. So.
and like probably a smaller, more stylized spear, and yeah, he's the one like knocking. And I think you can. Actually, I'm going to let you, if you want to find out more about the situation, that's up to you. If you want to fuck off, that's fine. I'll move us along.
You know, I'm pretty good at observing, I think. I have 3 self dice. So I want to get a sense of who these people are and what they're about, because I have a vague plan of how Puros would want to deal with this.
Do you want to roll for questions?
to like help this woman. So yeah, let me, I guess,
So under
observe.
the observe ones, there's specific circumstances when you investigate or examine the situation around you, you can ask questions.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. Does that seem reasonable? And is there an obstacle?
So for this role, there is no obstacle. The more successes you get, the more questions I answer.
Okay. I'll risk 2 dice on it. I'm rolling.
I got 2 questions. Where's Gubbins? Can I eat it?
No, it's a different game.
All right, I get 1 success. I lose myself.
The fates have granted fire as well.
Yeah.
So they've granted you 1. So you actually
Right.
get two questions.
Let's see here. Yeah, what is about to happen?
A door is about to get knocked down and medicine is going to be applied.
All right, and between the woman and the officer, who's really in control here?
The woman is. The woman in the like he has more authority, but he's acting on like they're both like serving a higher a higher person, and she's higher ranking in that way.
Yeah, and so Puros like makes his presence known. He kind of like gets out into the hallway and just says, "My lady," and like gets her attention.
Yeah, and she turns and like looks at your arm and your leg and just like squints a little.
Yeah, it kind of makes like a little bit of a yeah. Are you looking for someone in particular? Maybe I could be of help.
Yes, and I think she the guard the peacemaker is like stops for a moment and lets her speak, because she speaks really like very softly and breathily, and she like turns to you and says, "A woman here named Parza, a mother. She has children that need care. I'm concerned that this is a dangerous place for them. There are lots of and she like and like she like looks out towards the door that goes down to the steps to the tannery, and she's like, there's lots of sickness in the air here."
Yeah, and Puros like nods solemnly, offering like he doesn't offer any resistance or like aggression or any of that kind of stuff in all of this. Just to be really clear, he's like very deferential and just says, "Oh, very good of you to take that sort of concern and to come here to a place like this on their behalf. But well, I think you might have the wrong door. These buildings very confusing. I don't know if Parsa lives here anymore. As a matter of fact, I think she moved on a week ago, maybe more. Memory's a little fuzzy. Sorry, I gotta remember to use my left hand because that's all he's got. But he kind of does the old man ramble a little bit.
It sounds like you're constructing a falsehood.
Yes, I am. A
There's,
perfect cover story.
I think you need 3 because both of them are here.
Building some bullshit.
Yep, stacking
Classic
on the
Andrew.
bullshit. Well, yeah, he's just like, oh no, like you're in this like shitty, slummy place, but yes, there's no one there. They've moved away. It's not a thing. Yeah, he's just deflecting.
It probably descends into like old man story where you talk about as was the style in those days.
Yeah, like, no one ever sticks around here for long. I remember when this place used to be a much nicer. There used to be a fruit market downstairs, and like.
But yeah, Pasa, she was such a nice. And those 3 kids, one of them was a real brat. Like.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like,
you could even slip in a bit about how it smelled so bad that she didn't want to stick around.
Yeah, exactly, and that's
concerned for the health of her children, just like you.
Yep.
The kernel of someone else's truth to make this lie believable is that yes, this is a terrible place to raise children. No one in their right mind would stick around. Surely she's moved on.
Yeah.
You're laying it on real thick.
I like it.
And so, God, what dice are good for build? Air dice are okay at it. Self dice aren't.
Dice are
great.
50-50.
Actually, self dice are okay.
Water is also not terrible.
Oh, I got 0 water.
Okay, all right. Cool.
Let me be clear here. It's 0 water. Okay. So I'm gonna roll all my earth dice and 2 self dice. And I think and that's bending, yeah. So I put those under bend.
I mean, how are you bending? Like, how are you doing the act of bending to assist you with this?
And yeah, I think what that looks like is, this like, there's this weird like inward spirally thing of he's using himself and his memories as like a maze for them, essentially,
cool.
right? This like
cool. I like
I'm getting very floaty and metaphorical, but the idea is that he's both making it about him and turning his own history into a trap for them as part of this like lie, this deception.
Yeah.
If you are also earthbending, I have a thought.
Well, I don't need to bend the earth dice because because I'm building.
Yeah.
Am I correct, Ash? In saying so?
Like, you can always choose to bend or to roll, right? Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and if I bend instead of roll, sorry, what's the, like, if my earth dice I bend instead of rolling, what does that do?
You roll it twice, which means that you're more likely to get a success. But also, if either of them are a failure, then the dice still gets exhausted.
You're essentially rolling with advantage.
Okay, but then but don't I lose dice anytime I roll not a success? Yeah.
Yeah, so normally it's a binary state. With bending, each dice is rolled twice and so has 2 chances to be a success.
Oh, right, but if either
also
of
2
those
chances to
rolls-
be exhausted. Yeah.
Right, okay. I see. Well, I'll bend. Well, I just don't see how bending here would actually make sense.
I mean, look.
I have a thought for bending earth, but Ash, you were.
Okay, actually, I've got it.
Okay.
The earth bending comes in as follows. Like, very subtly, all of the dust in the hallway and stuff just, like, stuffs the frame of the door
Yeah.
as he's talking, and it just, like, muffles any sound from inside and, like, makes the door stick a little and just
Yeah.
generally blocks attention being given to...
Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
If I can add to that, I think also like a toy belonging to one of her kids is just like out in the hallway and just like is quietly like incorporated into the floor, so that like this like giveaway that like a child still lives here, just like.
Now you can't like fictionally. I expect bending to include some like verbal or somatic component. If we're using like D&D, so you're just like waving your hands like a crazy old man as you as he tells this story.
He goes into a coughing fit halfway through his story.
Yeah, cool.
And it like a little bit of dust comes up off of him, and just like the space kind of rattles with him as he's coughing and like changes slightly.
That's cool.
I like the idea that the way Pyros at least bends Earth, is through coughing. Like that's not like a fake thing. That's like that like motion is like like that's a thing we would see again.
It's certainly all very like involves like muscle. Like it's about like his own
seizing up.
use of his body. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna make this roll. I've talked it up enough. I'm building a Y.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
I get 5 successes because I get an extra one from the fates.
Yeah,
and I lose 1 earth and 1 stuff. So it costs Pyros.
Yeah,
pretty heavily, but
at the same time, like, I think the woman says like, you know, well, that is good. I'm glad that she's well, that is good. I'm glad that she's moved on. Do you know perhaps where she might have relocated to? And she's like, I can understand a mother needing to get out of a place like this.
So what are some of the neighborhoods here? Let's come back to our map.
I mean, yeah.
I'm curious.
Like, does anyone want to add any of the other add any other sites to it to help us like get a feeling for some of the places?
So I'm gonna mark where I live, which is, am I in one of these 3 buildings around the soup kitchen? Or am I
feel like that no, because we established you weren't on the same block.
Yeah, I feel like Andrew maybe like this one here, like somewhere in that.
On like the outskirts of town.
That
makes my walk to work really
you have to cross the entire fucking city.
I have to go across the whole city.
Yeah.
I think it's this big L-shaped building here. I'm just gonna mark a little X.
I'm gonna start color coding the slums.
But
I'm just gonna start putting dots in every building that's part of the slums.
You'll see that I've turned this role-playing game into a craft exercise.
Look, have you been to my work? It's literally arts and role-playing.
Here is my answer. As Pyros says, well, poor as the family was, they had to move to the slums on the other side of the wall. So like outside the wall, there's like the really shitty, like basically it's a death sentence slums, and he says that they've moved there.
Yeah, and you see this woman's eyes just like expand and she like look even more concerned, and she's like, well, let's, well then, officer, we should probably make haste to see if we can find her. She's probably in need of assistance.
And like Pyros is just like nodding and being like, oh, very, very noble of you. Like just kind of like saying some platitudes about how the work of her organization, because I recognize her as being one of the Mothers of Mercy or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, he just like nods about how good and worthy that service is. And there's, for the audience, a certain sense of irony that he's someone who's like in dire need of medical attention, like isn't getting it from them. But he's just like, oh no, very, very noble, very good. I hope you find them. Good luck. And he like does a little like head bow to the soldiery guy. The woman like heads out really quickly and like just like. You just catch the like tutting as she's like the soldier is dawdling slightly, and she's like, "Come on!" Like, she tuts him a little, but yeah. And then like as soon as they're out of earshot, you hear just the slightest like little like sob or whimper from behind the door. Yeah, and he like goes over to the door, like checks over his shoulder one last time, and then like pushes on it.
I mean, it's not locked. Yeah,
exactly. So it just opens because he's undone his little like dust seal on it, and I think we see the dust like fall away like sand instead of just like it all kind of falls to the ground. And he like pokes his head in and just like nods to Parsa.
Yeah, and you can see she's like clutching the baby to her chest, and like the two like toddlers are like like looking around, both of them with their like hands over their mouths, because they know they've been told to be like, be quiet.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like it's a similar room to yours, but like the walls here have like colored paint all over them, like you know, pictures of like children's drawings of like dogs and cats and flowers and rainbows, and I don't know what children draw. And yeah, so like there's all these like paintings on the walls, which are clearly like made from like all of the colors are quite dull because they're made from like whatever the children found that were those liquids that they could paint with.
Oh god, from the tannery.
Yeah, right. Like
leftover leather dye and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Gross.
Oh god.
Their hands are
And their hands are stained, like permanently stained.
Yeah, like
they tanned their
brown,
fingers.
purple, black color.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the thing that you notice though is that that unlike the two toddlers, the infant, the smallest one that she holds against her chest, and like you've seen this before, you've seen them before, but I don't think you'd made the connection. But it is so pale in comparison to her and the other two kids. It is like it is, yeah, like there is a stark contrast, especially in this light.
Yeah, and so Pyros just gives the all clear. He just says like, they're gone.
Yeah, and the children will, like both the two toddlers just both go, "Pah!" And it's like, and like, yeah, start like, and I think they both, one of them starts talking at the mum, one of them starts talking at you, and you can't understand either of them because they're both talking like continually loudly, just in this.
Yeah, both just over each other talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pyros is just still making eye contact with Parsa and just says, "Told them you went to the bad slums. They won't find you there. They'll assume you're dead." So,
and she's like, "Thank you. I need to be more careful. Someone's going to spot Nemo. Someone will spot Nemo again." Like she says, referring to the little one. She's like, and someone will say something. She's like, yeah.
And so, let me get this clear, just super clear. So, like, most of the citizens of the Republic are white.
Yeah, I mean, I'm making that assumption.
Is this what's implied here? And that this baby, has been parented, like, has been put in her by a white guy.
Probably.
Which is not consistent with her other two kids.
Probably.
And post dates the death of the other two kids' dad, or what? Like, or why is he not here?
That's a reasonable assumption.
Yeah. Cool. And so Pyros like puts those together and just says, "If anyone asks, just say it's mine," and then like walks away.
Yeah,
as if that settles the matter.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, yes, of course. And like, and there's this thing of like, yeah, because I would have a baby with you, like.
and yeah, from the hallway, just like barely audible over the kids, we just hear Pyros being like, "I used to be quite handsome, you know," and like.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good spot to leave for a break. We can jump back in a few minutes. The longer break before kind of knocked us out of our schedule, so we'll jump back in a bit. So catch you in 5, chat.